All right, it's now time to analyze the top stories, looking at what has been going on, especially in the business world. And Charles Fakroha joins us now virtually. He is iBrandTV senior analyst. Thank you for joining us, Charles.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with this imbroglio between the Nigerian Communications Commission, that's the Telcos, and the banks on these USSD services. Looks like this has not been sorted, and now they are saying that they might eventually cut the service. What are your thoughts?
Yes, what I believe is the Telcos are right for what they are doing. You cannot provide a service when at the end of the day you are not being paid for. So I think the bank should be more responsible. If you deduct this money at source, why not remit immediately to the telcos for the services they have rendered? So I think I will support the telco for this action they want to take. However, I will advise the banks to be more responsible in terms of how they operate.
But of course, that would affect customers, consumers, because a lot of consumers have now seen the USSD services as the easier way to transfer money and do a lot of transactions online without having to use the banking app, which of course has its own issues too. How do you think this would affect consumers?
Yes, it's going to affect consumers. It's already affecting the consumers. So I will appeal to CBN to prevail on the banks. This is as a result of ethics. Somebody has rendered a service. It is just obvious and logical that their money should be remitted to them as soon as possible. Delaying it and owing that amount of money, and we don't even understand what they are saying. So there should be sanction. I think their APS and their primary regulator, that is the CBN, should kind of impose sanction on this bank because the Telcos are rendered their service, and as such, they should be paid their money.
Okay, so where do you see all of this going? Do you see any form of compromise on the part of the telcos or the banks paying up the debt, or some form of, agreement coming together to resolve this issue?
Yes, I think I was going to that. Yes, I see a resolution of the issue. The CBN will prevail on the banks, and I'm sure that they will come to a certain agreement. However, the banks should ensure that they remit what is due to the telco, and I'm sure they are going to resolve it. Yes.
Okay, we'll see how that pans out. But let's move on to the finance minister, that's Zainab Ahmed, who has now, of course, re-emphasized. We know the last time we had this conversation, we talked about how she discussed the change of name of the FIRS from FIRS to NRS. That's a Nigeria
Service.
Yes, revenue service. Thank you. Now, what do you see changing in all of this? We know that this isn't the first time the minister will be talking about this. She talked about it when she was presenting the Finance Act to the Senate committee, and now she's saying it again.
Yes, I will want to say changing of the name might not necessarily improve their performance. However, if the government has decided to change the name, there is nothing wrong with that. But they should be looking at improving the efficiency of that agency in terms of revenue collection. Changing the name for me is not a priority. And if the government feels that is what they want to do, well, we all support them. But at the same time, we are looking for more efficiency in terms of revenue collection, tax collection for the government.
So, but she's talking about the fact that they are proposing the 35% on electronic money transfer levy receipt to be paid to local government as against an initial 15% to the federal and 85% to the state. How do you see this panning out?
Well, I think when it comes to sharing of revenue like this, I think all the stakeholders should sit down together and agree on a workable formula, looking at what responsibility each of these tiers of government are responsible for. So I think there should be an agreement as to what will go to each tiers of government.
We know there have been calls for expanding the tax net. Are you still with us, Charles?
Yes, I'm here with you, yes.
Yeah, so we know there have been several calls for expansion of the tax net, ensuring that those who are not paying as much as they should are made to, those who are defaulting are brought to book, and just, fixing all of the loopholes in the tax sector. But do you see this dealing with that issue, especially now that she is saying that they are going to rejig the executive arm, as well as looking at the committee representing the NRS? That's according to the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed.
Yes, if I should get your question correctly, the revenue, that's the tax agency, should ensure that those who are supposed to be in that tax bracket are properly taxed and everybody pays what is due for them, because we have come to that realization now that tax is a major revenue for government funding, and the agency responsible for it must do all it takes to ensure that all the tax that is due to federal government gets to the federal government, so that it can be used judiciously to fund some of our budget projects.
All right, we'll see how that goes, especially with the rejigging of the executive management and separating them from the board of directors. We'll see how that changes the face of the Nigeria's revenue service. Well, let's talk about the country receiving the credit that, according to this report, it's saying that credit to Nigerian economy surged to unprecedented levels in November 2022, reaching an all-time high of 64.2 trillion naira, representing an increase of 1.16% compared to 63.48 trillion recorded as of the previous month. How does this come to you?
Well, it don't come today as a surprise. We have been watching the economy of the country, and we are seeing how we are making use of credit. However, the credit should be used judiciously so that the purpose in which it was taken is achieved.
Well, but what do you think is responsible for the increase?
Yes, for every lender, they want to see people who are willing to take credit, because they know at the end of the day, payment is supposed to be, they are supposed to repay back. Whether they are very sure they're going to get their payment or not, then at least the government is responsible, and they believe that, yes, giving out this credit, they will be able to pay back at one point in time.
Okay, so what should we expect in the coming days? Do you expect a continuous increase, or, looking at the current economic realities? We know that they have talked about the fact that this is on the back of the low interest rate environment following the COVID-induced recession in 2020. Now that we know that COVID is gradually phasing out, do you see any difference, or do you see any reduction in the credit?
Yes, it's a recovery economy, and we need all the credit that we require now. And like you have said, the low interest and all that, and we are out of the COVID. However, the government should be a bit more responsible in terms of these credits they are taking. It is not just taking. All the ones you have taken before, what have you done with it? What is the impact it has on the ordinary person or the ordinary Nigeria? So I always say, he who goes borrowing goes sorrowing. So the ones we have taken before, we must begin to show results before we can continue to take more. And if the ones we have taken, we have not shown the impact, then I will advise that the government should hold on in terms of the credit facilities.
All right, well, the Lagos State government, through the Office of Public-Private Partnerships, has announced Mrs. Sisi Isisi, CRCCIG Consortium, as the preferred bidder for the proposed Fourth Mainland Bridge project. This is good news, isn't it? Not the fact that, of course, they've now given it to the CCIG, but the fact that there are now talks about opening the Fourth Mainland Bridge.
Well, thank you very much. I had expected this to come because we all thought that the Fourth Mainland Bridge has always been a mirage, but and announcing a preferred bidder now, it shows that the government is serious about it. I mean, because right now as I speak to you, I'm on top of the toll bridge, and there is a lot of traffic because of the repairs. So, naming a preferred bidder for Fourth Mainland Bridge shows that the government is serious about it. Let who Whether that company has the technical know-how is another ball game. And I think it is good for what the government has done. And in the coming days and weeks, we want to see how this pans out.
But this isn't the first time that Mrs., that's the CCECC company, will be awarded a road project in Nigeria. Looking at the past performance, can't we say if this would be a good project, or if this would be yield the preferred result?
Yes, I agree with you. The company in question seems to have the technical know-how. Looking at all what they have done in the country and other places, yes, we have to give them the target. We want transparency on the part of government. It is not because election is by the way and they are telling us a fourth mainland bridge. We want to see concrete steps. That's just not naming the preferred bidder. We want to see action being taken. We want to see the project begin to start. We want to see the preliminary studies, feasibility studies, and we want to see how this is going to start, not just naming the preferred bidder.
Well, apparently this would ease the harrowing experience that Nigerians are going through. You just talked about the one you're going through right now on the mainland bridge, but it looks like this would be some sigh of relief, or give some sigh of relief to Nigerians, especially Lagosians, who have to navigate between the mainland and the island on a daily basis.
Yeah, that is true. It's going to reduce the traffic situation. That is the over 20 million Lagosians who fly the roads of Lagos from mainland to island and then back. It is good, well supported. But again, if my memory will recollect, we've been hearing this fourth mainland bridge as far back as 2003, and this is 2022, 2023.
So you're not optimistic about it. You think it's just mere, words?
We don't want it to just be mere words, because election is just less than 2 months ahead of us. Maybe they want to use this as an election campaign. But I believe that naming a preferred bidder shows that, yes, they have moved a step higher. And we want to see them to move further, faster. And we want to see the contractor mobilize to site. And let us see that, yes, something concrete has begun.
Well, being the second longest bridge in Africa, spanning about 37 kilometers with 3 toll plazas, 9 interchanges, a 4.5-kilometer lagoon bridge, and an eco-friendly environment, what does this portend for the economy, especially looking at the fact that, of course, this would create more job opportunities, the toll plazas and all of that?
Yes, I agree with you. Eco-friendly, and of course, the company in question has done what we call environmental impact assessment. They have said they're going to create a lot of jobs, and at the same time, they are taking the environment into consideration in that world-class construction. However, I still say that we want to see transparency. We want to see the contractor move on site and mobilize as soon as possible. That is when, because they seeing is believing. That is when negotiators like myself and others who are suffering in the traffic will say, yes, the Lagos State government has done noble by starting this project.
Well, I guess that's a good place to end the year. Of course, ending our conversation for the year 2022, especially on Business Breakfast. Thank you so much, Charles Farquhar, and see you in 2023.
Thank you very much. This is Charles reporting from Eco Bridge, iBrandTV, Lagos. Thank you.
All right, have a good day. Bye now. Still to come after the break, the benchmark performance indicator of Nigeria's equities market crossed 50,000 psychological mark on Thursday as Santa Claus rally continues on the bourse. That's our next focus on the show. Don't go away.